in terms of the prison in New York where he died, seems to have died. You don't know what the bloody hell's going on. Nothing would surprise you. But I don't know whether you saw this CBS investigation report into the prison cameras. Of course, only one was working that night. And that's the footage they released from the DOJ and the FBI. But as CBS point out, that camera only shows a certain part of the floor outside of Epstein's cell. And they point out that you could get in without being seen by that camera. And when you think that at the time that his demise, shall we say, that his brother hired a forensic pathologist who was a former medical officer with New York State, who said, "This is looking to me like it's a murder, a strangulation, and not a suicide, because certain bones were broken that would not be broken in a suicide, but would be in a strangulation," which he said it was clear to him from what he saw on Epstein or with Epstein, is that huge force, his words, were used to kill him, to strangle him, in his view. And so nothing in this whole story adds up. The foundation of the conspiracy is actually experiencing a reality that's actually nothing like the reality we think we're experiencing. That's the whole basis of it. It's a long way from Trump or Harris or Biden or Obama, but that's the real conspiracy. And the whole idea of this hijacked alternative media is to build the barricade brigade, as I call them, to hold the sense of the conspiracy at its politics and finance and what have you, and to stop the real conspiracy being exposed. What you do with the people exposing the real conspiracy is you call them mad, or you call them dangerous, and you deal with them that way, which I'm extremely used to, of course.
So, David, it's like they campaigned on releasing Epstein files. They told us for 5 years that the video cameras weren't working in the jail the night of Epstein's unaliving. And all of a sudden, they say there's no files, move on, nothing to see here. Oh, we found a video. There's a minute missing. Some people say there's up to 7 minutes missing because the rest of the video has been sped up. I mean, how dumb do they think the public are?
Well, some of the people in the Trump administration, I would say most of them are bloody dumb anyway. That's why they've done such a terrible job of covering this up. But when you have made it such a focal point, and the MAGA have made it such a focal point, not doing what you said you'd do in terms of releasing the files, and let's not forget that Trump was prevaricating even before the election. He was asked, I think it was on Fox News, would you release the JFK files? Yes. The Martin Luther King files? Yes. The Epstein files? Yes. Well, a bit different with them. Yeah, I bet it is, mate. Because what's sickened me, Sean, about the hijacked alternative media, and there's some fantastic people in the alternative media, fantastic people doing some fantastic work. But I'm talking about those that get all the algorithmic support, that don't get shadow banned, and are basically the stars of the new alternative media. And the way they have sought to cover, I'll call it the MAGA media now, because that's what it is. they've sought to cover Trump's back. I mean, you know, you had Alex Jones, who I think has been an absolute bloody disgrace to the alternative media now for a long time, with his Trump support and his efforts to explain away the otherwise unexplainable and to defend the indefensible. But he was almost in tears when the announcement was made, as you say, that there are no files and it's all shut. Thank you, goodbye, nothing to see here. But it weren't long before he was plying his trade again in trying to make some excuse for why the files weren't being released. I mean, I think his first effort was that Trump was holding back the files because he was blackmailing the deep state. And then I saw another one where the question was, is Trump being blackmailed by the deep state? I mean, talk about disappearing up your own backside when you've got to face the bloody facts. And they are that Epstein and Trump were close friends for 10 to 15 years. And Trump would have known what Epstein was doing. I mean, below, but did nothing. And the latest thing, when he was on the plane, I think he said it when he was in Scotland as well, was that he ditched Epstein when Epstein started taking his staff from Mar-a-Lago, young girls. And he was asked if he was talking about people like Virginia Giuffre, formerly Roberts. And he agreed he was. Well, that happened, in 2000. And it was involving not Jeffrey Epstein directly, but Ghislaine Maxwell, who approached Virginia at Mar-a-Lago. And Epstein was invited to Trump's wedding in 2005. 5 years. And by the way, the 5 years when most of the allegations against Epstein, that 5 years they relate to. And it was a property deal that brought an end to their relationship when Epstein claims that Trump screwed him in a property deal in Palm Beach. But the whole story makes no sense. You've got all these videos of them together, these pictures of them together over a period of time. He lives Epstein about a mile down the bloody road from Mar-a-Lago. There's no way that Trump didn't know what he was doing, and he did nothing. I mean, at that level alone, we can take it as read. Anything above that, well, we'll see. But the whole story is obviously, I mean, it's like the Wall Street Journal ran a story about the fact that in May, the Department of Justice told Trump that he was in the files, he was in the documents. And suddenly it went from the files don't exist to the Democrats have adopted them. Oh, you mean they put your name in, Donald? Oh yeah, Democrats did that. Yeah, oh come on, man. But you know, when I read a book. It was first written during the first term of Trump, but it's ever so relevant to the second. It's called the Cult of Trump, and it's written by a guy, Steve Hassan, I think his name is, who was a Mooney. He was in the Mooney cult a long time ago. And I think he got quite high in the Mooney cult. And then eventually, in his words, he got deprogrammed. And he then went on to study to become a psychologist, psychiatrist, specializing in freeing people, freeing their minds from cults. And he wrote this book, The Cult of Trump. There's things in it that I don't agree with on other things, not Trump. I think he sees cults everywhere, but to an extent. But on Trump, the guy is absolutely spot on. He's a cult leader. And what happens with your Jim Joneses is the cult members become so mesmerized by them that they'll make an excuse for their behavior, however bad it is. And that's what we've been seeing. There are people in the MAGA who voted for Trump who are going, hold on a minute, this is outrageous. I'm not having this. Fine. Good reaction. But there are others, the real inner core, who are running around making excuses for him. And that's a classic expression of a cult. And like you say, in terms of the prison in New York where he died, seems to have died. You don't know what the bloody hell's going on. Nothing would surprise you. But I don't know whether you saw this CBS investigation report into the prison cameras. Of course, only one was working that night. And that's the footage they released from the DOJ and the FBI. But as CBS point out, that camera only shows a certain part of the floor outside of Epstein's cell. And they point out that you could get in without being seen by that camera. And when you think that at the time that his demise, shall we say, that his brother hired a forensic pathologist who was a former medical officer with New York State, who said, this is looking to me like it's a murder, a strangulation, and not a suicide, because certain bones were broken that would not be broken in a suicide, but would be in a strangulation, which he said it was clear to him from what he saw on Epstein or with Epstein, is that huge force, his words, were used to kill him, to strangle him, in his view. And so nothing in this whole story adds up. And you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me, I lived through this and observed this, Watergate. What happened with Watergate during the Nixon regime is there was a break-in at Democratic headquarters. And we had, of course, the Bernstein and Woodward stories appearing in the Washington Post, thanks to someone they called the Deep Throat. And it took this sequence whereby there would be denials from the Nixon regime. More would come out, more denials, but the denials were getting less credible. More came out, more denials, less credible. And eventually Nixon had to go. And there was an insider there, Henry Kissinger, who was clearly orchestrating this when you look back at the background. And there'll be people, I'm sure, in the Trump regime that are seeking to undermine him as well now, as a result of this.
David, it gets even worse, though. And I'm glad you mentioned Virginia, because the survivors we've collaborated with, Virginia, Maria Farmer, Juliet Bryant, they all look up to you. And you're keeping Virginia's spirit alive and her mission alive in what you're saying. So we appreciate that. And it's an absolute slap on the face, as we saw with Virginia's family yesterday, that the Ghislaine Maxwell, it looks like she's going to get either a sentence reduction, a pardon, or some kind of, she's going to fall through the cracks in the legal system. I mean, Trump, the administration has seen the backlash so far about the nonsense they've made up. And now they're going to go one step further. They've visited her in jail. They've not visited the survivors and spoke to the survivors. And now she might get out, and she's supposed to speak to Congress on the 11th. I mean, what is going on that they could possibly do that?
Well, let's not forget that Todd Blanche, the number 2 at the Department of Justice, is Trump's lawyer. He worked as Trump's lawyer before he got appointed to that post. And he went to interview Ghislaine Maxwell alongside Maxwell's lawyer, who is a personal friend. They appear on the same podcast together and tell each other how wonderful they are. And what you've got is Ghislaine Maxwell, who knows the score. Now, this is a lady who refused to testify in her own case because she, I guess, didn't want to incriminate herself. I didn't think the cross-examination would go well. And now suddenly she is apparently willing to talk. Now, if you know what she knows, and it's indicated that she will reveal it, and what she will reveal will be dependent on whether she gets a pardon or not, or whether she gets leniency or not, then you want to keep her on side. And I found it interesting that Michael Wolff, the not just the many times biographer of Trump, but also interviewed Epstein at length, hours and hours and hours and hours of tapes, he said, that because I think Epstein wanted him to do a book on him. That what Wolff said is that his contacts in the White House say that they believe that the letter said to be between Trump and Epstein and his 50th birthday, orchestrated by Ghislaine Maxwell, was leaked by the family, the Maxwell family, to, in Wolff's words, be a shot across the bow to the Trump and Trump regime to say, we've got stuff, what are you going to do about it, in effect? And it was in the aftermath of that letter being published by the Wall Street Journal, that of Murdoch, that suddenly Todd Blanche is dispatched to a jail in Florida to interview Ghislaine Maxwell. I mean, what we have to do is keep our eye on the ball, see what makes sense and what doesn't of the evidence, become aware of the evidence. And also, this is crucial, absolutely crucial. And it's what has done for the mainstream of the alternative media. If you're a journalist, and you know, I've been a journalist since the 70s. I'm just a different kind since 1990. I don't have editors to say that can't be published. But if you're a journalist, the last thing you are is politically partisan. That is the end of you as a journalist, because now you're not filtering the evidence and saying, okay, what do I make of this evidence? You're filtering it through your political allegiance. And when an alternative journalist, in brackets now, or in quotes, like Alex Jones, is extraordinarily partisan towards Trump and Musk too, there's no way that you are going to dispassionately look at the evidence if it's bad for your guy. You might have to admit a few things because it's so blatantly obvious, but you're going to try your best you can to spin it. And when I look at this hijacked alternative media, I look at the Russell Brands, I look at the Weinsteins, I look at Tucker Carlson and these people who basically, with others, got Trump in the White House the second time. Without them, it wouldn't have happened. And why did this hijack happen? And like I say, I'm not saying that everybody's done it because they know what they're doing. A lot of them, most of them, are just promoted because they don't know what they're doing. But they have a limit on how they see the world and what they'll talk about. And also, if you can make them financially dependent on supporting Trump and the MAGA way of seeing the world, then you got them financially as well. It's like, what is it? There's a guy called Upton Sinclair who said words to the effect, it's hard to get people to see something when their salary depends on them not seeing it. And so what you've had is this partisan MAGA media who have promoted a candidate. There's others. The guy called Ian Carroll promoted Trump. They all did. Candace Owens, for a very long time, was a Trump promoter. And she was an Israel promoter before she changed tack. And so you can't be a journalist, a dispassionate journalist, who is dispassionately looking at the evidence and calling out falsehoods, whoever is the source of the falsehoods, if you are in any way a partisan supporter of one political side. And like I say, I'm always come from, since the early 1990s, the position that it's a one-party state, and therefore they're both vehicles for the same end. And I'll give you an example of that. You had, like I say, the Gateses and the Kurzweils and the Schwabs pushing how wonderful it will be if we confuse humans with artificial intelligence. And then you've had Elon Musk. And Elon Musk came along, and there were people in the alternative media that were calling him out as a transhumanist who was pushing the AI agenda. And then he bought Twitter. No, he was allowed to buy Twitter because they were saying, and it was true, the deep state controls Twitter, and what can be said on it, and who's allowed on it. Yeah, true. So that means the deep state had Twitter exactly where it wanted it, right? Oh, yeah. Well, we're going to release the Twitter files just to show you. Yeah, the deep state controlled it. Okay, so why did they sell it to Musk then, who was the self-proclaimed free speech absolutist? He's not, but he proclaimed it. And what happened as a result? I knew it was a scam when he bought it because I've been tracking Trump for years. Musk, well, Trump as well, but Musk for years before that. And I could see how these companies were ticking the boxes of the World Economic Forum agenda, and World Economic Forum is just a front for the global cult anyway. And from the moment he bought Twitter, allowed to buy Twitter, and turned it into X, there was this phenomenal transfer of perception of him by this alternative media. Suddenly he's one of us now. He's letting a few people in back, and they're all great. Yeah, it's wonderful. But then they announced that they believe in freedom of speech, but not freedom of reach. That if it's lawful but awful, you'll find it very difficult to find it on Twitter X. And they start shadow banning those people who are calling them out and promoting those who are promoting the MAGA media agenda and the Trump agenda. And suddenly, Musk is being given a free ride, even though he's promoting the AI agenda more and more and more now, but he's been doing it for a long time. They're giving him a free ride because he's one of us now.